Hell yeah. So Ryan, we're not going to waste any time. I think the first thing you said to me when we saw each other off mic was we have to talk about Survivor.
Oh, yes. The
So-
finale is coming up.
I don't know anything about Survivor. Full disclosure, I think by the time the episode is released, the finale will have happened.
Okay, great. So people can see how wrong my predictions are.
Okay.
Basically, for those of you who don't know, Survivor is a group of strangers. Now it's just 18. They kind of settled on that number. Get stranded on some deserted islands in Fiji and are given no food. And they compete in challenges to earn safety. If you lose the challenge, your tribe, your group of people goes to tribal council. You vote somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do that process till you get down to about 12 or 13,
Mm-hmm.
and then you merge.
Mhm.
And so then there's no team formations. So like right now they start with 3 tribes of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then they merge, and then you play an individual game where one person wins individual immunity, and then they all go to tribal council, and everyone's vulnerable except that one person. And you can vote, and you vote each other out, and you do all of that till you get to final 3. The last 8 people voted out become the jury. And the final 3 players, so that once you hit final 11, they call it the jury phase.
Mm-hmm.
So as people get eliminated, they go to the jury. And then the final 3 people pitch their case to the 8 people they voted out about why they should win the game. It's wonderful.
A jury of your peers are people that are actually mad at you.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So the premise of the game is how do you vote people out and then get them to vote for you to win? So there's a lot of debate about people don't join in on plans because like I don't want to tick off so and so because I need their jury vote. But then it's like they might throw off the numbers because it might be 6-5 in the vote and they vote incorrectly, so the wrong person goes out. Like so, there's a lot of deep because then there's bitterness. Sometimes there are some people who are like, "You promised you would never vote for me. Now I will never vote for you." And so then there's that. Like, but then some people are like, listen, game is game. You played, you got me out, but I respect the move. Go for it. Like, but every player and every season is different. And this season, I believe we're going to get a bitter jury, like a true bitter jury for like the first time in a long time. And I'm living for it because a lot of the big personalities are already out of the game. And some of them had some spicy takes in the game. And as they were leaving, they were like ticked off at people and they let them know that I think we're going to get a really fiery final tribal council where people are like, I made that move. And it's like, well, yeah, by doing that, you lost my vote. And like, I think it's going to be spicy.
So it's not as much of a meritocracy as I had assumed.
No, there
Okay.
was a phase when it started where it was like, if you flipped on your allies,
Uh-huh.
you lost the game. But it's like, I'm at the bottom of the alliance. Like there's an alliance of 5. I'm clearly number 5. If I don't flip to the other side, I don't win the game.
Okay.
And over time, people started to see the strategy evolved, and we kind of left that whole, like, who's ever the leader of the majority alliance wins. And it kind of shifted to whoever makes the best game move. And then there was this one girl who she played both sides very effectively. And there was a guy who led from the middle, as in like he would very vocally just be like, I'm with this group now. And the very next tribal council was like, I'm with this group now. And people then were respecting people who played the middle and weren't like necessarily like the leaders. But then there were bitter jurors where like someone's like, I'm dragging this girl to the end because who would vote for her? And then she beats him and he's like, what? I'm speaking in vague ambiguities because I don't want to spoil any seasons in case people go watch.
Right. Yeah.
So, but like, but now we've gotten to what they call the new era. The game is shortened by days post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And people talk about resumes and resumes and resumes, but when you get down to it, it's the people who have the strongest relationships win the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the person who goes, well, like, you guys were my friends and I took you out, but like I still respected you. Where before, like if you took someone out, it's because you hated them. And so, but this season there's some bitterness. So it's kind of going back to old school Survivor where there's some people who are like really upset and there's some animosity. So I'm living for it.
You have to imagine that it's on purpose. Like they are casting people that might be disagreeable or have an ego.
Oh, 100%. They cast a lot of very extreme personalities. Like this season, I live for Mother Venus. Okay. She is a 24-year-old woman who the internet has dubbed Mother. But she's a very outspoken Iranian woman who like, she's like, I'm not going to censor myself because women in Iran have to be censored and I am not going to censor myself. So she would tell people, she goes, I don't like you. I don't trust you. And she was like very vocal.
Treating everyone as if he's the Tola Khamenei.
I don't know what that means.
The head.
I was gonna be like, but then I was like, I can't even. I don't know what happened.
He's the main Iran guy that she probably doesn't.
Oh.
My idea is that like if a guy's like, hey, I actually feel this way, she's like, are you telling me that I can't vote right now? Like that's the vibe I'm getting from her.
Yeah, no, but then there's like there's one guy, Q. Love him. He's a former Ole Miss football player.
Q, the
Not drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race. There's a different Q on a reality TV competition show this spring.
Okay, Ryan, our reference points are very different. Because I was thinking Q like QAnon. Like
oh, no. I'm talking about Quintavious Burdett, to former Ole Miss wide receiver. And I was also referring to Q, the drag queen from Kansas City, Missouri, who finished 4th on this most recent season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay. My crossovers are very different than your crossovers.
That made it sound like I'm a fan of QAnon. I'm not. I'm not. Oh, I'm gonna get some YouTube comments about that. But
yeah, hey, any comments are good comments. I've gotten stuff for my stand-up that I think is hilarious. But long story short, there's a lot of big, bold personalities this season that are like at odds with each other. And one girl this season, she didn't get the Applebee's rewards. She's allergic to a lot of things. And so she couldn't eat like the fruit that existed on the island. So she was literally starving. And then there was a reward where if you win a challenge, they served you an Applebee's dinner, but the winner got to choose a couple people to go with them on the reward. And this girl has clearly been starving, and she wasn't picked, and she had the meltdown of a century. Beautiful TV. I live for it. She like has this, she's like sobbing, and she like dramatically turns around and she screams, "I'm pissed," because she's so hungry. And she had told everyone how like her and her daughter would go to Applebee's every Wednesday before they go watch Survivor. She had said it all season because like Applebee's and Survivor have this like thing. So her and her daughter, like they were like in the episode, they were like showing a picture slideshow of her and her daughter at Applebee's. Like it's their weekly tradition where they go get Applebee's and then they go home and watch Survivor. And so she was like, this is my connection from home. This is also stuff I can eat. I can't eat the coconuts and whatever because like I'm allergic to them. I need to eat. And so when she was denied that, oh, drama, it served. I lived. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much.
It does sound like drama is being served. Did I say that correctly?
Yes. I watched it. I watched weekly at a gay bar in Williamsburg, and just the screaming of like, yes, honey, just like
it's everyone. A game.
Oh yeah, it's like it's like we some of the hosts call it like sports, but for gay people, which gay people can like sports. I love sports. I'm a big Utah Jazz fan. But yeah, it's just I love it so much. It's really down to like two main people. There's like a third that I don't think she's gonna be the end, but I think
Ralph Nader of
I think Kinsey is gonna win the game. She's the girl for the what?
The Kinsey scale?
No. I'm also, is it a 6 is gay or is it 1 gay?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm on the gay side.
Yeah, you don't have to have your number memorized.
No, that's not relevant. But I think she wins because she has the better, like, narratives sometimes win over resumes because stories, the jury feels a part of their story. So she was on this disaster tribe that lost every challenge at the beginning of the game, and she survived. And so she has this narrative, this story that she can tell of this girl who was on the bottom. And like when she made it to the merge, one of her allies said, oh yeah, she's the strategist. She's the mastermind of our tribe. And that put a big target on her back. And yet she's still here at Final Five. Even though she was labeled as like this mastermind, she's the last person from her starting tribe. She's been so kind to people. One guy has been having panic attacks and she stays up every night, like consoling him because he can't sleep. He hasn't slept in days. And so she like takes care of him so that he feels better. So like her social game is so on point, and social game wins over strategy in this game pretty regularly. And also narrative wins over resume, because narrative, the jurors feel like they're part of her story, their characters, where resumes, they feel like they're a bullet point, where they're like, oh, like I'm that dashed, like whatever, like, but like if you're part of someone's narrative, oh, because jurors want to feel a part of the winning game. And so if they're like, well, Kenzie was so nice and so thoughtful to me, and she was my number one ally when I got voted out, I feel like she's going to win over Charlie, the other guy who I feel like he's been this like kind of like the strategist of the season, but she's been the social player. And I think it's actually going to come down to a 4-4 tie. This is my thought process, because there's 8 jurors. So there's a final 3. What happens in a tie? It's happened once before, where the third place finisher, the person who got no votes, casts the tie-breaking vote for the winner. The drama for $1 million, the title of Soul Survivor, and they have to do it right then. They're in person. They don't get to wait a moment. Jeff reads the votes and he goes, "We have a tie." When we have a tie, that means, and they happen. And literally the first time it happened, he just goes, "Laurel, go up to the voting booth. And she didn't have even 30 seconds to like gather her thoughts. She found out she just lost the game.
Yeah.
And then she had to go decide the winner where she was the sole vote to win. And I think that's going to happen this season. The drama, the intrigue. Watch. It's going to be like an 8-0 thing. It's going to be a very boring ending, but I want that tie. I want that tie so bad.
Now, do the judges, do they each vote and they don't know?
They don't know how everyone else votes.
Okay.
They're discouraged when the jury is discouraged from openly saying I'm voting for so-and-so. They're allowed to talk about the game, being like, what moves did someone make? What relationships did they have? And like talk about all that stuff. But what you're not allowed to do is like pander and like pontificate and not pontificate. That's the wrong word. Like politicize or like stump for someone, being like, I'm voting for her because and like try and persuading everyone. Persuading, that was the P word I was looking for. And so they vote independently. They go up to the jury booth, they write the name down, they say a little something, they put it in the urn and they step back, and then every other person goes up separately.
Now, you know how whenever there's a case in the American Supreme Court and there's usually 4, because there's 9 justices, right? There's usually like 1 or 2 people where it's like they're the only ones that we actually don't know how they're going to vote. Everybody else is like pretty predictable. Is the judges panel like that? Like, can you already pair like, oh, this person's definitely
100%. Almost every season, there's always like, that's a locked vote for her. That's a locked vote for him. Cause it's usually their number one ally, or it's someone who like had openly said like, I really respect their game, even though we're not working together. Like they've played such a great game. So, and like, there's some people who are, maybe you can't identify who they're voting for, but you can tell who they're not voting for. Like, oh, that guy hates her. He's never voting for her. And so a lot of players, when you get towards the end of the game, you start counting jury votes. And you're like, okay, I've probably got these 2. She doesn't have those 2. So I'm going to make my final tribal council pitch trying to get those 2 to vote for me.
Right.
So there is some like strategy and like counting and aligning your jury votes, where there was one winner who got to the end and like very specifically was like, I'm trying to get these 2 people. Like, well, they said it in their exit. They didn't say it in the moment, but they're like, I framed my whole final tribal council speech to win those 2 people over because I knew I had 3 votes and I knew they had 3 votes. And I wanted to win. And so like there is that sort of like politicking and like next level thinking about being like, oh yeah, I'm not even going to waste my time trying to win them over because they're never going to vote for me.
And you never know, there could always be an upset.
Oh yeah. There's always like, she voted, he voted, what? Like there are some people that win them over like at Final Tribal Council, and they maybe had the wrong read on things, but no, I live for it. I love it. I've watched every season. I'm here for it. Big Brother is like Survivor but in a house. So like any competition show, The Challenge, Traders, like I'm seated.